Think we're recording. Welcome.
Fantastic.
Thanks for joining us, Johnny.
Thank you, Daniel.
We're live and ready to roll.
Amazing.
So what I normally do at the start is, because some people might know you, some people might not,
Yes.
is ask the person who they are, introduce themselves, a little bit about you, and let us know about yourself.
No problem at all. My name is Jonny Gibbons. I run a luxury lifestyle concierge company in Ibiza. I've been there for the last 13 years, providing a luxury experience, but also just the Ibiza experience.
Yeah.
We work with all the market, from top, middle to even the lower levels. And we want to basically provide the experience. Ibiza can be done in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So when I went to Ibiza the first time myself, it was my first experience. So I did it in a certain way, the beginner's way, let's call it. And then the more time you spend in Ibiza, the more you learn Ibiza. It's like a game. And then once you learn how to do it in a bit more of a different way, you kind of experience a new level of Ibiza. And again, the longer you're there, you kind of increase your levels, which allowed me to create the perfect experiences and packages for all clienteles.
Okay.
Because I gained that experience. So Ibiza, I call it the Disneyland for adults.
Yeah.
It's the island where everything and anything goes, right? It runs on such a high energy. The vibration is incredible. As you know, it's the party capital of the world.
Yeah.
So Ibiza for me is a very, very special island. And it's an island where people can go. Some people can call it escaping the reality, the day-to-day of their normal life. But it's one island where people come together and everybody will be having something similar in common. And that's to literally just have a complete break from reality. That's what's special about Ibiza.
Okay. And you, if you don't mind me asking, where did you grow up? Where were you? What's your background?
Right.
You know, in the UK, whereabouts in the world are you from?
Okay, well, I don't actually tell too many people this. But
Oh, it's top secret news.
I'm from London.
Yeah.
I actually grew up in a place called Selsdon, which
Okay.
was just on the outskirts of Croydon,
Okay.
down by Surrey. And I moved to Ibiza about 13 years ago.
Okay.
So 13 years Ibiza now.
And what did you do? Can you talk about what you did before you went to Ibiza?
Yeah, no, of course. I was a personal trainer, actually. Yeah, I was very much into my fitness and training. I've done quite a lot of modelling as well. So I went from fitness, training, getting in not bad shape, going into modelling, doing that for a few years, and then met a girl.
As you do.
Met a girl, and she said, let's go and travel the world.
Okay.
And we pretty much did. I wouldn't say we've done the whole world, but we've done a fair few countries, and it was a great experience, and we ended up in Ibiza.
Oh, okay. So can you give us a bit about the countries that you've been to? Because like, there's one thing that I've always wanted to do is travel more.
Yeah.
Is my plan. Like one of the plans is like, I want to build the businesses that I have to a place where I don't have to, I can leave and people work here and I can go away for 3-4 weeks and go and see different places. Like places like I want to see is Iceland. I'd love to go to South America. I'd love to go to New Zealand. I'd actually like to go scuba diving in the Maldives.
Fantastic.
Different places like that. So
Yeah.
if you were to kind of say to me now, like where are your kind of favorite places to go, the top 3 places you've seen in the world, aside from Ibiza, of course.
Okay, interesting. I mean, just to touch on that subject, I think traveling is what us humans are meant to be doing. We're meant to be traveling, we're meant to be exploring, meant to be going through all these different experiences. I think that's what really living life is. Through my journey of traveling, we touched Thailand, Bali, Mexico. We done Portugal. We travelled. We went to Mallorca. I've already hit quite a lot of Spain, and that's how we ended up in Ibiza. My favourite was, I've got to say, Thailand, because of just how different it is to the rest of the world. It's such an experience.
Yeah.
It's just, I've been many places, and I can't say that I've ever experienced what I've experienced in Thailand.
Right.
It's just such a crazy place.
Do you mind me asking to elaborate on like what would, like if you were to talk about, because so Thailand is one of the places I want to go, particularly because I believe the diving there is phenomenal. And
I've been told it is, yeah.
You know, and I look at like, if you can pull your mic just a little bit closer to yourself there. I've been told that diving's amazing. I have friends that live there for a while. The culture's amazing. The food's good. A lot of mates of mine have gone there to do like Thai kickboxing and
Yeah,
stuff
of course.
like that. And,
Yeah, it's quite popular.
and all that sort of stuff. And it's not been like a number one on my list, but it's one of those places I would like to go and see. And if you were to say like what kind of stood out for you the most about Thailand, what were the kind of moments you think, you know what, that was well worth making the travel there?
I mean, number one, it's there's obviously some parts more beautiful than others, but when I went to PP Island,
Yeah.
you get a boat over and there's no cars, right? So everyone's just walking or cycling, and you literally rock up onto the beach and there'll be like some little old lady on a bench just knocking up some food, and it all looks a bit rough and ragged.
Yeah.
But then when you order this Thai green curry, Mazzaman curry, whatever you're choosing, the food is just incredible. So you've got this experience of just this old lady knocking up a curry on a bench, on a beach. You've just rocked up on a boat and you're looking around and it's just complete paradise.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. It really is incredible.
It definitely sold it to me.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
incredible. It really is. It's that real, I say about Ibiza being a step out of reality. I mean, Thailand as well in its own rights is a massive step out of reality.
And could you get like, because obviously one of the things that's massive about the Ibiza scene and, you know, maybe going to Thailand, could you get easily lost in the party scene in the likes of Thailand?
Yes, there's definitely a high energy in Thailand.
Yeah.
Bouncing around for sure. Ibiza and Thailand are very different. I just want to say that. Very different. But yeah, of course, I suppose it all depends on the type of character.
And what you're looking for.
And what you're looking for.
Yeah, so
if you're going over there for the Muay Thai and all the rest of it, then obviously you're going to be a bit more on the straight and narrow, making hopefully better choices.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go down the strip and meet every Tom, Dick and Harry along the way, you can very easily get led astray.
So you went from Thailand, so you did a bit of traveling. How long were you traveling for?
We travelled for about 5 months.
Yeah. And then you ended up
5 months.
in Ibiza.
Then we ended up in Ibiza,
13, how many years ago?
Well, it's 13 years ago. So I'll tell you how it happened, because I actually remember. I was travelling with a partner of mine, Laura, at the time. And we just arrived in Mexico. And she took me to this hotel, which she didn't tell me, and I didn't know, but it was a bit of an open-minded swinging hotel. I didn't know this information.
That's what you're telling everyone, isn't it?
I will tell you a quick story.
Right.
I didn't know the information. But no, when we arrived at this hotel, Laura kind of kept it quite quiet to herself. That it was an open-minded experimental hotel.
Okay.
So anyway, we checked in, we've gone to reception, put the bags down. I didn't clock on what was going on. And we jumped in the swimming pool, ordered our cocktail drinks. And then the guys jumped up on the microphone and he's gone, right, guys, I need 3 contestants. And I thought, a little hotel game thing. Okay, this could be quite entertaining to watch. And so the guy on the microphone, he's picked up these 3 girls and he said, right, girls, you've all got 30 seconds. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem at all.
So the guy's got these 3 girls and he said to the girls, right, you've all got 30 seconds to jump in the swimming pool and collect as many swimming trunks as possible.
Right.
And I'm thinking, right, hold on. So next minute, the whistle's gone, girls running in the swimming pool, coming around and collecting all the swimming shorts off the people. So you got to quickly take the swimming shorts off, give them to this girl. And I'm like thinking, mate, what type of hotel is this? 'Cause I still didn't clock on. It was this open-minded swinging hotel. So I give my swimming shorts to this girl. She's ran up. And they've done the scores at the end. And they're like, right, how many shorts have you got? How many shorts have you got? How many shorts have you got? And I thought to myself, this is a bit of a crazy game to play at a hotel. But I kind of clocked on that something wasn't quite right here. Anyway, so they put their hands up and they said, right, whose swimming shorts are these? And I went, they're mine. Hoping and expecting for him to just throw them for me to catch them. And he threw them behind himself on the rooftop of a hotel. And he went, right, now go and get them. And I was just sat there in the swimming pool and was like, cheers, mate. This is blinding.
I'm not going.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, you had to.
You had to go and get them.
Of course. You had to embrace it in the end.
You just had to go for it.
You just had to go for it.
So that was a kind of interesting weekend.
That was a little pre warm up before Ibiza.
Right.
That was Mexico giving me a new experience.
And then you went from Mexico
From Mexico to Ibiza.
Yeah.
And it was my brother who called me, who went to Ibiza on holiday.
Yeah.
And he's like, Johnny, where are you in the world? And I said, I'm in Mexico. And he's like, you need to get yourself over to Ibiza. He goes, it's amazing here. And I was like, okay, do you know what? We probably can. So I looked at the flights and stuff and we flew over to Ibiza. And I just remember my first week in Ibiza, I was just like, wow, as if a place like this even exists.
Yeah.
All everyone does is just go from one big party to another big party to another big party. I just thought this place was incredible.
Yeah.
I actually didn't realise that this existed outside of what my normal sort of reality of life was. So, Ibiza was an eye-opener.
For me, like, so I've never been to Ibiza. Like, I've never been. And, you know, we're in talks of possibly going to see Ibiza and check it out and see what it's like. I am looking forward to seeing it. From an early age, I gave up. Like, so when I was partying and I was in the scene where Ibiza would have been interesting to me, and it probably actually would have been interesting to me even after I stopped drinking and drugging.
Yeah.
But I guess I was always worried about going there and getting the want to go back out and take pills again. And when I was in Ireland, I never had the money to go to somewhere like that because I was spending all my money on pills. So I was like, it was catch-22. And the time when it would have been good fun to go and see Ibiza,
you had your own mini Ibiza in Ireland.
Yeah, but not really. It was more like like we used to go to the clubs and we'd be waiting for we'd go to the nightclub and it wasn't like a dance night, and dance music hadn't really taken off in the west of Ireland then, so they didn't have the club scene like they have in the UK. So it was like we go out all off our heads, just waiting for the last 30 minutes of dance music in the club and get 30 minutes of dance, and then we'd all end up back in a party playing tunes and talking nonsense to each other until you're like completely, you know, you're in another place because you've come down or whatever. But for me, like, I wish I'd gone to Ibiza during those times. Probably in the early days of when I was partying, not when shit turned south. But I'd like to go and see it. I guess I'd like to know like how your life evolved. So obviously you arrived in Ibiza. Was it a planned short stay, or were you thinking I'm going to move here, or how did that evolve?
Okay. Well, two things I'm going to say. Number one, your experience, what you're saying now, you can look at it in two ways. You can look at it as maybe you missed out on an experience, or maybe you had a lucky escape.
Yeah, possibly.
Okay.
The state I was in, I probably would end up in a Spanish prison, like,
because I've experienced both sides, and I think when you get to a certain age or a certain stage in your life, you know, you make better decisions for yourself. You want better outcomes. You have other priorities. So you know, I've experienced Ibiza when I didn't have many priorities.
Yeah.
And I was young, wild and free.
Yeah.
And then I had some responsibilities and I still tried to juggle the two together. And then I went full-blown responsibilities and really focused and directed my time and energy onto that, which is what we'll talk about later on down the line.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, remind me your question.
So the journey from day one, you land.
Yes.
So like I landed in Tenerife with 2 bags and $2,000, and it's kind of evolved to now. And there's a whole lot of stories in between. Probably not as exciting as your stories, but I would say, like, I guess the question is, was your plan to kind of come into Ibiza and just stay for a couple of weeks and go away, and then all of a sudden you fell in love with the place, and then did you just? From then, you've not left, and because I know now you're trying to spend more time here in Tenerife. But what was your journey to some of your journey to where you are now, basically?
Okay, are you ready for this?
Yeah, there's a tune in that.
We turned up with 2 suitcases on holiday with no plan. You know, I had a personal training business in the UK that my brother was taking care of for me.
Yeah.
So I was kind of getting drip-fed income, and my partner worked online. So we kind of just had income. That's why we got to travel so much for 5 months. And then when we ended up in Ibiza, it was literally just to see my brother, and a few of our friends were out there anyway. And we just got sucked into the Ibiza holiday. Yeah. We had no plan to stay there as long as what I did, 13 years. And we literally was just going from hotel to hotel, you know, with these bags. I think we did this for around a month and a half.
Right.
So it was a long Ibiza holiday. And then we went back to UK to pretty much go, right, okay, we need to get back to reality now. And I think I spent about 3 weeks in the UK. I was like, that was much better. I want that to be my reality. We need to make that work. So I ended up leaving my personal training business, passed it to my brother. He continues it still today with a new brand, which is now under Tyro Fitness.
All right.
And that's in Croydon. And I went back to Ibiza and was like, right, okay, I've got to make this work. I was lucky in the respect of my partner at the time had an online business. So that gave us a cushion to be able to
You didn't
make
have to
it
worry, like.
Exactly. And of course, I was a personal trainer, so I very quickly jumped online, social media, introducing myself, trying to network the hell out of it like I always do in life. And I managed to get myself some good clients and going to villas and training someone in a log cabin in Croydon to training multimillionaires in villas. It was quite an easy decision to make.
Transition. And can you? You said to me you can't tell me any of the people that you've trained, but like, I'd say it was fairly cool walking into these massive villas and training people, and like, so when you moved there first, you obviously started doing your own business. You started doing personal training, and then your missus was working online. So how did the kind of did you evolve from the kind of transition from a personal trainer to then getting involved in, I guess the probably the easiest way to say it is concierge service, would it be, or
the yes man, the fixer, the concierge, however you want to word it. I think a lot of that boiled down to my personality. So I was always someone who liked helping people. That's why I became a personal trainer. And I think where I spent obviously a large amount of time in Ibiza, and of course social media is about, and everyone seeing me in Ibiza, I then I just evolved it to a point of call. Whenever someone was coming to Ibiza, speak to Jonny, he's in Ibiza. Yeah. So that's kind of how it slowly started to happen. And I was just helping people out with tickets for this place, tickets for that place, little after party information, how do we get a nice sports car, and so on. So that was just my natural sort of self being me, just helping out people. And I think over time, I thought to myself, hold on a minute, if I'm selling these tickets at this price, if I speak to the owner and get it for a bit cheaper and then sell it for this, I can make a little bit of money each time I'm selling a ticket here. And then I realised, obviously, I can do the same with the cars, same with the boats, same with the jet skis.
Similar to what we do here.
Exactly. So that's how it naturally evolved, is I just saw me being a little helping friend to actually forming a bit of a business from this. So that's slowly how 24/7 was built.
Yeah, so if anyone's looking for you, it's 24/7, and that's
24/7 lifestyle on Instagram.
Okay, and so if someone, so say for example, how does your business work? They contact you via socials, then you basically ask them what do they want to do.
Yeah, so basically what we've learned over time is people want to maximize their experience and they want it all simplified. So what we do is we come and we pre-plan our itinerary with the clients before they come to Ibiza.
Yeah.
So we know from start to finish, everything is flowing as it should. Because if you fail to prepare to fail, as we know, especially in Ibiza. So when you book a reservation for a restaurant or club or anything, if you're late, your table's gone.
It's that busy.
If you're late for your transfer, you're late for your restaurant. If you're late for your restaurant, you're late. So it's like a knock-on effect. So it's super important to get it right.
Yeah.
When it comes to Ibiza, is it worth investing money into a concierge company? 100%.
Yeah.
Is it worth investing money to a concierge company that's been there for as long as I have, as well as other companies? Of course. Because the experience that you gain over the years of Ibiza is what the power is. And,
contacts as well, I'm sure. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. It's like, I'll tell you one very quick story about a gentleman wanted to propose to his partner. They really wanted to do it in a certain restaurant. The restaurant was fully booked. Okay, fully booked. Sorry, you can't do it. Because I know the owner, I made a phone call and I said, look, if I get an extra table and chairs, can we sort of dress it up, make it look nice and just squeeze him in for this one special event? Because it is, he's about to propose to his partner. And I really want to make this happen for him. He's been a client of mine for a few years.
I hope she said yes.
Of course they did.
It would have been a disaster after all that.
No, can you imagine? Sorry, we tried. But no, and this is 13 years on the island, all the contacts, working with them for many years. You can make the impossible possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ibiza is an incredible place. It really is.
So with Ibiza, like there's obviously you're talking about the bright sides and stuff like that. What I'd like to know is that you hear about the dark side. At any point did you find yourself over those years getting lost amongst the madness?
Okay. There's many things that I can tell you, Daniel, about my experience in Ibiza, but there's only some things I'm going to tell you. Yes, I can say that I openly experienced Ibiza in every way possible.
Yeah.
I got the t-shirt.
Yeah.
I experienced it in every way possible, and that come with multiple different scenarios and experiences and outcomes and situations. And like life is a lesson. You know, you learn from your mistakes that you make. I had to make my few little mistakes by living there. I was quite young when I was there. You know, I'm 36 now, and it was obviously 13 years ago.
Yeah, so you're in your mid early 20s.
Exactly, early 20s, and you know yourself when
when
you're in your
I was in my early 20s, and I wasn't off drinking drugs. It would have been a mess. Especially I honestly, I could just envision myself in a prison in Spain, basically, if I went down that line.
If I have to be honest with you, the fact that I'm not dead, I'm really grateful. The fact I'm not in prison, I'm really grateful. I'm very blessed to be here today, to be able to be on this podcast and tell this story. Ibiza is, it's wacky, it's wild. I told you, I call it the Disneyland for adults. Me in my early 20s, just seeing all these flashing lights and colourful things to eat and try and drink and so on. It was a great experience. And I'm also very grateful that I can remember it all.
Well, that's good if you can remember.
Well, I say remember it all, at least 85% of it.
So, like, for anyone, because for me, like, coming to Tenerife, it was like, and Tenerife's nothing like Ibiza, just to clarify that. I remember arriving here, and, like, if anyone asked me, says, well, I want to move to Ibiza, I want to start a new life, I want to try something new, and I'd always say to them, don't come here without a plan. Don't come here without something that's going to guide you to make money, because I watch people come here with, you know, they might have saved 10, 20, 30 grand or whatever, and they come here and they start their time here in a holiday mode. They don't have a plan. They don't have some sort of way of guiding themselves to make money, and the island just swallows them up. And then they go back with nothing. They've spent most of their time on holiday mode, and or even they end up in a darker place. I see people here like that just ended up on the streets. You see them come here and they're like healthy enough, and then they just get into holiday mode. Well, not in Ibiza, but here beer is cheap.
I was going to say, if this can happen in Tenerife, it will happen a hell of a lot quicker in Ibiza.
Yeah.
I've literally seen millionaires go from millionaire to homeless.
Wow.
Ibiza, and I say about the high vibration, high energy, it's such an incredible place, but I've seen many people lose themselves there. This is what's really important, is it comes down to, I think, the character. We can all have a good time in Disneyland of adults, you know. We can all have an amazing time, but there comes a time that you have to create balance. You know, if you're going to go out and party for 2-3 days and live the rock and roll lifestyle, fantastic. But then you need to try and make sure you get yourself at least in the gym for the next 4 days, because that's how I balance my Ibiza journey. Is exercise with partying. So even when I was, don't get me wrong, there was times where I'd do 4 or 5 weeks partying and no gym. But something always told me to get myself back in the gym. And I suppose I'm grateful to have that personal trainer inside me, that little sergeant that says, right, you've been partying, get yourself back in the gym now. And then I'd go and do like 2 months not partying and really sort of exercise. So regards to the chewing you up and spitting you out thing and how things can go really well or go really bad, I think a lot of it comes down to the character, and you've got to have control, and especially in Ibiza, because it can chew you up. I can
imagine it, and fast, very fast. And if you're like, so we talk Thailand, we look at, say, for example, Ibiza, and we talk about your life in the last, like when I look at my life in Tenerife, I can choose highlights and moments where I think, oh yeah, you know, this is something special. I'm really glad I moved here. or the highlights of your times in Ibiza. So I'm going to ask you some other stuff about like the mad times, but I wanted to see like the moments where you've gone, like you really felt like you made the right decision. You're in a place that's special, be it like, you know, for me, I can think of one where we hiked up to the top of Tady.
Yeah.
We watched the sun go down, like, and you could see the whole island. You could see the shadow of Tady on the ocean, and I just thought, how lucky I am to be able to be on this island and live here. I guess, is there any moments like that in Ibiza that kind of stand out to you? Like, do you think, yeah, I'm in the place I want to be? Like,
to be honest, I think the whole time I was there.
Yeah,
I think the whole time I was in Ibiza, it was always a bit of a pinch myself moment. Just waking. Ibiza's such a beautiful island, right? Just down to the beaches and just the sun rising each morning and just looking around at the landscape. I think every single day I was there, I was just felt very blessed and very grateful. It's such a beautiful island. But then very special moments that you're talking about that might have been slightly enhanced with whatever was flying around on that evening. Yeah, of course. You know, there were so many moments where, you know, you left the venue, a party, villa party, whatever it may be, and you all kind of convoyed down to the beach, and, you know, you're all a bit wobbly and a bit drunk, and you're watching a sunrise, you know, and it's like you can still hear in the background, boom, 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 where the parties are just still continuing. And this was back in the times of like Space on a Sunday, which was just incredible. And this was also the times when you could go from a club to the beach with all of your friends, buy all your alcohol and just be together on the beach, still carrying that after party that would go on all day and sometimes to the evening, which then meant sometimes you'd go into another party.
Yeah.
So there was...
Has that changed?
That's changed now.
Why? Laws or...
So what I want to say is I'm very grateful to be able to have experienced Ibiza when I did, because it has changed a lot more now. And some would say for the good, some would say not. Because what they've done is they've tidied up things a lot more. And I can completely understand why they've done what they've done, not allowing people to party on the beach and, you know, sit there drinking alcohol and doing the after party thing on the beach. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And I get why you can't, but I'm so glad that I got to experience it, because to be honest, they were probably like the best times of Ibiza.
Yeah.
Going from an after party to the beach with your friends and then finishing off your own after party with the just random people that you've met. Yeah, it's just, you know, watching the sunrise and the sea just being like super calm. It's just something so special.
Yeah.
But I understand why they tidied it up. You know, you've got families who want to go to the beach in the morning with children, and you've got people who are just coming on a back end of a bender. So,
so would you have ended up in a lot of like private parties like with well-known people? Now, I'm not going to ask you names, but I guess I'm sure you can tell us like the DJs that were there.
Yes.
So is there any kind of big name DJs that you've been in, say, a more smaller setting where it's not like a massive club where you've kind of gone in and you could have like given them a handshake or a high five?
Of course. I mean, you know, being a concierge company and being a bit of a party boy at the time, I mean, I rubbed shoulders with many DJs, and I got myself to a stage where I was always in the VIPs area. Yeah. So, you know, after a few years of Ibiza, as I say, it's like a game, you go to the next level. After a few years of being in Ibiza for a few years, I then got to go to all the VIPs, to all the after parties, to be behind the DJ booth, which in your playing the video game of Ibiza and going up the levels, was like, oh, I'm up onto this level now. Of course, Richie Ahmed, Jamie Jones. I mean, they used to do some great villa parties over by Cova Santa. WAF. I mean, just, untold amounts of DJs. And there was a time where DC10 on a Wednesday, Paradise, become a weekly thing. Yeah. And I did that for a whole summer. So every week, every Wednesday, VIP bands on, DC10, DJ box, you know, drinking, partying and enjoying the tech house music that Jamie and Richie and WAF and all the guys put together. And
so obviously you find yourself coming to Tenerife a bit more. What's kind of, do you think it's your age, not that you're old, you're 10 years younger than me, so you're lucky. But like, as in, is something kind of attract you to take a step back a bit from Ibiza in the sense of your own self and your own life?
Ibiza will always be a massive part of me.
Yeah.
I will always be flying backwards and forwards to Ibiza. My business 24/7, my concierge company will always be flowing. I've been there so long, I like to feel like I'm part of the furniture.
Yeah.
But saying that, I just got to a certain stage in my life where I felt like I wanted to be in less demand.
Okay.
I wanted to slow down a little bit. Me in Ibiza, I'm a point of call, right? And what that means is, as soon as someone lands, they want me at the airport meeting and greeting them, depending on the caliber of the person. So I'm meeting and greeting them at the airport, or I'm meeting and greeting them at the villa, or I'm doing the villa check-in. You got to stay and have a quick beer with us. Okay, perfect. Looking at the clock, thinking I've got the next client to go and see. As much as we had a really good team, I kind of become the brand, and people liked my personality and wanted to meet Jonny Gibbons on arrival. So I just found myself, and you have to remember, sometimes this is on the back end of a big night out.
Yeah.
You know, at my early stages when I was going through the transition of party boy to party boy trying to build a business, that chapter there was a very challenging time for me, because my clients would be like, right, Jonny, I've booked this VIP, you're coming with us tonight.
They want that personality with them. That's what's attractive to, like, it's the same, like, for a long time, like when I was in the business, I was the face of the business and all that sort of, and it's nice now that actually some people think that Matty's the owner of the business. You know what I mean?
I think I've got to that stage. I'm happy for someone to be a face now. I found it, especially this chapter, when I was going from party boy to party boy businessman, you know, I'll be getting dragged out to places, and kind of they're high profile clients, so I can't say no to them. You know, I felt like I had to say yes to many things that I didn't want to say yes to, just to look good for the business, you know. So I went to places, went to the VIP areas and drinking and so on. Okay, some would say you should have more control and not drink so much. But it happens. Yeah. You know, it happens in these places of high energy. It happens. And then I could literally go, right, look at the clock and go, right, in 2 hours' time, I need to be at the airport because I need to go and meet my next client. And it's like these panic moments, you know, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There was a lot of anxiety and panicked moments.
I can imagine, yeah, because it's like, people see a lot of that as like it's this glamorous thing, but you're also like, when the higher you go up with people that you're dealing with, I'm sure that the expectations go up, what they expect, how the timing, the places that they're going to, you know, some of them I'm sure are really sound, but some of them are probably like, I expect the best, and if it's not the best, then something's out of place. So they're in a bad, you're getting it, like.
When I say this, I'm not saying I want anyone to ever feel sorry for Jonny living this amazing life in Ibiza.
Trust me, I don't feel sorry for you.
But you start to feel like a bit of a slave.
Yeah.
And especially where the season's only, 6 months long, you literally just try and cane the hell out of it. You try and say yes to everything. You try and make everyone happy. You try and make as much money as possible. Of course you do, naturally. But yeah, it takes its toll, and there was definitely some stressful, and I know anybody listening to this will relate to it. There was a lot of stressful anxiety, panic moments, rushing around, driving, you know, it's intense is the word.
Trying to get to the airport, because I'm sure that they expect, that they don't want to be ringing you and wondering where you are.
Nothing can go wrong.
You need to be standing there the minute they walk out. Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
So
high energy.
Yeah. Oh, we're, you know.
But you had to be high energy for the client last night, and then you had to get them home, and you had to make sure everything went well, and then you have to make sure you're at the airport an hour late, and then it's just, you have to just keep being you, and you have to keep giving that energy.
It's even more than you. It's
even more than you.
Because 100%. When I DJed for 10 years and had a residency in one of the biggest clubs in Ireland, and I used to go in, and I could be at home and had a horrible argument with my missus,
yeah,
and I'd have to go in and be high energy, get the crowd going, go on the microphone, have the place going mental. If I went in there with bad energy, that emulates into the crowd.
Of course.
And just the mood, and part of you is looking for the crowd to give you the feedback to get you lifted, but they're waiting for you to bring them up, and then it's like a back and forth with the crowd. And it's the same, I guess, the feedback that you're getting back and forth with your clients is you need to be that high energy. And I guess one of the things I wanted to ask as well is, because I'm interested to see, say for example I booked your service today, so I say, right, I want you to pick me up at the airport. What normally happens? Would you pick them up in a particular car, or do they order a car, or how does it normally work?
Depends on the client.
So say, for example, I have loads of money, right? Yeah. And I'm saying to you, Johnny, I'm coming over. I want a 458 Ferrari sitting at the airport.
No problem.
Yeah, it'll be sitting there, come out, hop into it.
No problem.
Yeah.
With a driver, or are you driving?
Yeah, I want to drive.
Yeah,
it's a Ferrari, mate. I'm driving it. Would people order like a car like that and then want to be driven in it? Yeah.
Yeah, as well.
I want to be stepped. I want to be the guy getting out driving it.
There's a lot of people that get off that plane who cannot go behind the steering wheel. And there's also some that have taken some of our cars out. I won't mention any names.
Have you had any written off?
I will say that there's been a couple of famous DJs who have written off a few of our cars.
Big car, like
top.
Yeah, Lambos and stuff.
Top cars, top DJs.
My dream is to own a Lambo,
to repair it.
Yeah, I really want to own a Lambo. But then the more I think about it, it's how hard to kind of, where do you put it? Where do you look after it?
Do you know what? Lamborghinis are fantastic cars. I had to, another one of my sort of jobs. People know me in Ibiza as a bit of the car man. You know, I've always loved my cars. I had 13 cars at one stage, all different vehicles. So anything to do with cars on the islands, they would always give me a call. And a client just bought a brand new Lamborghini Aventador from Benidorm? No. Where was it? I think it was Benidorm. Anyway, part of Spain. And they wanted it brought to the islands. So I got the phone call, can you go and pick up my brand new Lamborghini?
Man. I know what those boats are like.
Well, can you imagine, right? So
I would absolutely shit myself.
I have to be honest.
Yeah.
So we picked up the vehicle, and I thought to myself, well, got 20 minutes. Just have a little drive around and just see some sights. Put a bit of fuel in the car so the client's going to be happy. Maybe give it a clean. Anyway, we did this and enjoyed it a little bit too much.
In the auto washer.
Could you imagine? Wind mirrors off.
all over.
We missed the boat. We missed the boat. So the client's
from mainland.
The client's expecting his Lamborghini, and we missed the boat. So I went straight to panic stations because I was like, right, I need to make this happen. So I looked at when the next boat was, and we drove.
Be handier, I'd say, from mainland to Ibiza than to here. What's the kind of boat ride from a day? No,
a day. About a day, exactly. Yeah. Anyway, cut long story short, we got the Lamborghini to him 8 hours late, but I got to drive it a lot more because we had to drive like an extra hour.
Would you rate it?
I loved it. For me, in my experience of that vehicle, it's a jet on wheels on the road.
Love it.
The power of this vehicle is just incredible. The sound is incredible. The G-force, how it pulls you back, is incredible.
So you recommend buying one?
I do, but make sure you get a 4x4 as well because they're rubbish over bumps.
I have a 4x4 already. Yeah, my Defender, and I love it.
Defenders are fantastic cars as well. It's a cracker. I really like the Defenders.
Yeah, I find it really comfortable. It's got air suspension. It kind of floats down the road. And I've got a little fun car as well. I've an AMG A45S, which is
very nice,
very very quick. But I've been toying with a Ferrari in my head or a Lambo or something. But then I just think to myself, like, I won't even probably drive it. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like. But it's like one of those things you kind of think, oh, I'd love to have one. I'd love to give you some more there, man.
Yeah, cheers.
And it's like, if I have it, or maybe I should just rent one, see what it's like.
To be honest, I would do that. I reckon
rent. Cole's over there. What do you reckon? Go, we head to Ibiza to rent a fucking Lambo.
Sounds good.
I don't think the four of us are fit in a Lambo. We'll have to get 2. 3 Lambos. All 3 different colours. Imagine each one of us driving in Lambos, driving around. It'd be class.
I mean, listen, if you can afford a Lambo, you can afford the fuel. But that's the biggest problem with these Lambos. Yeah. All of my friends who have had Lamborghinis as well. Yeah, the upkeep and the fuel on these cars, all of my friends have them who's had them. It normally has them for about a year and then they sell.
Just the cost of keeping it running.
Yeah.
Is there a place to service them then in Ibiza?
No. There's not. I mean, there is a place, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. We'll not mention it here. So I've never been to Ibiza. I don't understand the season.
Yeah.
It's something that we're looking at we're interested to go and see, myself and Colin. And find, well, Colin's been there. I've never been. So it's like, how does the season go? So when are we kicking off? How does it kick off? And is it like instant people there? And how does it filter up? And then what happens afterwards?
Okay, you're looking 5.5 months.
Yeah.
But what's been happening over time is they've just been dragging it out a little bit more and a little bit more. So I can now probably say we're looking at a 6-month season.
Okay.
It really starts to warm up and starts to release the opening parties from April.
April, all right.
Okay. So basically, like from April, it starts to warm up. Yeah. I always tell clients to go in April. April's a beautiful month in Ibiza because it's not had like millions of tourists arrive yet. And the island's getting nice and warm. I don't know, there's something about the energy of it going from winter to summer. That pre-party feel. The island just warming up. So April is one of my favourite times in Ibiza. It really is. And then you've got like 5.5 to 6 months. Now it's funny because first you have the opening parties.
Yeah.
Right, which you must go to because they're the opening parties. And then obviously at the end you have the closing parties. In reality, they're just all parties.
Yeah.
From the start to the middle to the end, it's just one big party for 6 months solid. You know, you've got the biggest and best super clubs in the world. We've now just opening up the first hyper club, which is going to be called Universe, which is going to be incredible.
What sort of capacity are we talking?
It's a very good question. They've just done all of the building structure work to it now.
Yeah.
So I don't know off the top of my head.
Will it be open this season?
Yeah, it's opening. Yeah, they even got Will Smith over to do the pre-advertisement for it. So
hopefully he doesn't slap anyone. He's a devil for the old slapping, isn't he?
Indeed.
Bad boy.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously Ibiza's got, I don't know.
So when you talk about, because like I'm asking this as someone who's never been and really would like to kind of understand the island, you've got like main party areas, obviously.
Yes.
What are those areas for anyone who's going for the first time, for example?
Okay,
where would you go?
For the open air experience, you've got Ushuaia, which is incredible. They put all the biggest acts on and the biggest performing and production, and you know it's incredible. And it's also surrounded by a hotel. So it kind of like you've got the big stage, all the big production, and then the VIP area on the left, big swimming pool, and then a massive dance floor. And surrounding this whole thing is a hotel that you can stay in.
Wow.
So you can also be on your terrace, just dancing, watching everyone dancing and watching this whole show. You know, your David Guetta and you know, all your DJs play there.
Big money to stay there, is it? Or what are you talking?
Yeah, I mean, so. It's not too expensive, to be honest. I think Ushuaia done a good job what they've done there. You can pay for the suites, which are obviously you're going to pay more money for, but they've done quite a fair price that everyone gets to go and experience it. And then opposite Ushuaia, you've got High, which used to be called Space. Everyone who knows it as Space is quite sad that it's not Space anymore, because Space was a very beautiful place.
Yeah, and it's also a big name, isn't it?
It's a big name, beautiful place.
I've not been there, but I know
great parties, great vibes. You've got a club that's been polished, and then you've got like a club that's just Ibiza.
Yeah.
Space was an Ibiza club.
Yeah.
You know, like it was amazing, but it wasn't all polished and chrome with the VIPs and this and that. It was a hub where people come together to just connect and vibe with the most amazing house music. Obviously, Carl Cox was one of the biggest DJs in space, and the parties were just incredible. And I don't know what it was, but all the people, and that period of time was just, for me, one of the best times in Ibiza. Space, Sundays, Carl Cox, going to Bora Bora Beach, 6 a.m, and just really having a magical experience.
If you were to kind of, if you were say just, if you were to pick out the best night, like set you've heard there, it might get you into trouble because some of your clients are probably DJs.
In Ibiza?
In Ibiza, yeah.
I mean, that's a really hard one to say, to be honest. I don't think I can say there was one that was just the best. Like, I've got 4 or 5 that I can say for me were the best. I've had some incredible nights in DC10 with WAF DJing, which was unbelievable. I've had some great nights with Richie Army's done some incredible. Again, Jamie Jones has done some incredible sets. David Guetta's not overly my favourite for music, but I've had some amazing times. Again, in Ushuaia with the production.
Have you met David Guetta? Can I ask a question that might be controversial about David Guetta? Can you say anything about David Guetta?
I try not to say anything about anyone and I don't get in any trouble.
I'll say nothing then. I won't say
I'm quite curious to know what the question is.
So the question is, like, there's this whole theory, right, that David Guetta doesn't actually DJ. That, like, you know, I've often seen threads online and that where they've shown that his CDJs and stuff haven't even been plugged in. Like, he's just playing the music. He doesn't even DJ. Now that is manufactured, but that could be just absolute nonsense. You don't have to answer that.
No, what I'm going to carefully say is, yes, he DJs.
Yeah. Does he always? Possibly not.
Does he always? All DJs, you know, like, as far 99% of them, 99% of the time are DJing, but sometimes they're too fucked up and they can't DJ.
They just put a CD on of their music.
And they just need to stand there and look good because they're getting paid a lot of money and they've sold a lot of tickets. So yes, it could be possibly true.
You should be a politician.
It could be possibly true.
Yeah.
Of course it could. And to be honest, with a couple of DJs out there, I'm sure there's been them moments where they haven't DJ'd.
Yeah.
But their face is valuable. And
they produce the music at the start anyway.
Of course,
so like it's like the production of the music. So obviously you got this island that's there's an area in the island that's just party. Like, if you look here, it's not the same thing obviously, but you've got Veronica's, you've got those areas.
Thank God.
Yeah, you know. But if you leave those areas here, you're confronted by, for me, like, an absolutely stunning island, from the forests to Tahiti to Aniga to all these places, Masca and stuff like that. Does Ibiza, for anyone like who wants to go and try the party scene, maybe spend, 3-4 nights down there partying, is the island outside that, has it got a lot of natural beauty that's worth going to see? Like?
Yes. Something I wanted to touch on. Ibiza is for everyone.
Yeah.
Not just party people. Yes, it's the party capital of the world, but that's just one part of it. The island itself, it's got the best restaurants, the best beaches. You've got Formentera, which is the sister island of Ibiza, which is like going over to the Bahamas.
Yeah?
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. You're on a boat for like less than an hour. You're actually, you book...
A bit like going from here to La Gomera, for example.
Exactly. You book your little... your luxury boat.
Stop showing up.
You get all your friends.
I'll go over in a dinghy.
Well, you used to be able to go over on the jet skis, but they banned it because...
I reckon a lot of people getting accidents, like...
one person split into two, so they decided to stop that in the end.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. But you can still get jet skis and stuff when you're over there. So Ibiza is such a beautiful island. For a family holiday, incredible. For your lads' holiday, girls' holiday, incredible. For a luxury holiday, incredible. It's something for everyone. The hippie markets, the beach clubs, you've got different levels. You've got something for everyone there. I don't want to put anyone off Ibiza who goes, I'm not into partying. I don't want to go there. You must. It is definitely one of the most amazing places in the world that I've been and experienced. And that's why I'm grateful that I could call it a home for many, many years. And hopefully many more years to come.
Yeah. And if you've come here off season,
Yes.
and then you're going to go back on season.
Exactly. So what I started to do in the last, COVID was 5 years now? 5 years ago?
Yeah, the dreaded lurgy.
Oh, the dreaded lurgy. So I was in my house in Rockalisa, a beautiful townhouse on a golf course, and I had a lovely English bulldog that obviously needed his walks, like any dog. I left my house, crossed the road onto the golf course. Next minute, there was a drone flying there. And I was like, oh, goddamn drones. It was overreacting, drama queens. Next minute, 2 meat wagons have turned up. Military police with guns. Oh, yeah, you're too far from your home. You need to get back quickly. Da, 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 da. I was like, it's intense. I very quickly left my dog with a neighbour, which makes me sound like a really bad pet owner now. But I left my dog with a neighbour, and I went and I moved to Tenerife. I come to Tenerife to see my friends.
Yeah,
because they said Tenerife was a lot lighter. It wasn't
that much lighter though.
A little bit more. When I come over here, I was going to bars till 11:30.
Jeez, you must have seen a different Tenerife that I seen.
Yeah.
Because my Sahara, my missus, went to go shopping and she went to the wrong Mercadona apparently, and she got grilled by the police. I went down to my shop to get cash out of the safe. The army turned up and says, "What are you doing out here?" And I was like, "Just getting some cash from the safe. Get out of here!" Like. You must have been lucky. Where were you?
We must have found a very lucky bar.
Shout, like, you know what I mean?
Me and Marcio. Marcio is one of my very, very good friends who owns one of the biggest and best clubs in Marbella called Taboo nightclub. If you ever go over to Marbella, head over there. It's fantastic. But we found this little bar on the seafront, and it was open till 11 o'clock.
Class.
We didn't even realise. I mean, I sound like a naughty boy now. Well, obviously, COVID was heavy. But I
don't think it sounds like a naughty boy. Me personally, I don't. The whole COVID thing, in my opinion, was overcooked, and like it shouldn't have been that heavily cooked.
Of course,
I think a lot of people lost out on precious moments in their lives.
100%.
And I know people were hurt by COVID. And I don't want to go into too much because it gets myself into trouble. But but like I know people that weren't allowed to see their parents. You know, on their last moments because of COVID, and then other politicians were out partying, doing stuff that they shouldn't been. So like. I don't know. My belief is it was a bit of a...
It was wrong in many ways. Yeah. But like what Jonny always does in any stressful situation, he just tries to find a sort of light side and he tries to enjoy himself.
So Ibiza was like a ghost town.
Dead.
And is it like that off season? So when is the official kind of end of season? Like, is it August, September?
September, really, because what they started to do is drag out the closing party, so the season's slowly getting a bit longer and longer.
And when does the temperature drop? Roughly September?
I mean, it starts dropping, at the end of September, but you can be sunbathing on Christmas Day in December.
Yeah?
In Ibiza.
It's warm enough.
Yeah, it's warm enough. I remember one Christmas, I was sunbathing and then come in for my turkey and...
But why are they, if you can get decent temperatures there, why are they shutting it down?
Respect to the locals.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
it's giving their island back
a breather, like.
Yeah, and I think it's right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've always said Ibiza could be an all year round place.
Yeah,
definitely. Even the weather in the winter, it has some bad weather for a month here, maybe a week there, but all in all, it could be an all year round tourist place. Like
so when
Tenerife.
it shuts down party, is there still tourists that go there during that time?
Yes.
Like, outside of it, they come and do other things other than the party scene, but it's a massive drop off.
It's a great island for hiking.
Okay.
And like what I said to you, it's got so much beautiful landscape. It's great for hiking. The restaurants are still fantastic. It's people live on the island all year round. It's a fully functioning island.
What's the population of Ibiza like?
Good question.
Cole, any idea what the population of? We should ask. ChatGPT since we've been having a chat.
Oh yes,
chat.
Our new friend.
Yeah. She's an interesting character. The one I have. I actually have a ChatGPT on this, and she's a little bit rude.
She's
what's
brilliant.
Going on with her, yeah.
She cooks, she cleans, she does everything.
Yeah. I wish she did. She's stuck on my iPhone. What is it called?
53,000 inhabitants.
Wow, 53,000. That's less than Lanzarote.
And how much in the summer?
I'll be interested to see how many visitors in the summer. That's mad, isn't it? For like an island that has a population of 53,000. I watched a documentary a while ago on how Ibiza evolved, and it was like this one kind of club thing started kicking off, and then it just evolved into this massive like party island. What's the kind of 3.3 million? That's insane for an island that has a population of 53,000. And
It's incredible.
So when the season dies off, say September, the party areas just become like a ghost town.
Yeah.
What's it like? Because I remember here when lockdown happened and we could get out a bit, it was like 28 days later. Like it was like, you know, coming out of like, oh, the world's ended, you know.
Well, it's like that every winter in Ibiza.
Yeah?
Yeah, it really is. They literally go to the extreme of boarding up the windows, caging around the clubs.
Losers or occupiers or what?
I'm guessing so. Yeah, I'm guessing so, because they go to the extreme. It turns into zombie land.
Right.
Especially the touristic parts like Playa de Bossa, San Antonio. Obviously, there's a few little cafeterias still open, but all in all, it's ghost town.
Do you get? I just have this vision, right, of lads that have come over, they've partied, right, and they haven't come down from the height. Is there still
What the hell's
people
happened?
Like, and they've gone like, and they wake up out of a comatose night out, and all of a sudden the place is shut down. They're going, it's the world ended. There's no one around, and they're like completely paranoid.
I mean, it is literally like a scene out of a zombie film. It really is.
Do you ever see any, like, for want of a better way, stray people just like after it's over kind of wandering around like that shouldn't really still be here?
Yes, actually. You have a point there. And, you know, some people don't plan on staying the winter, and they plan on going home, and they end up staying the whole winter, and the next minute, you know, summer's happened again. And, you know, I was one of them people because I never planned to be there 13 years. I planned to just have an Ibiza holiday experience, but you know, it grabs you, Ibiza. And even in the winter, even though the summer super clubs are closed, there's still Pasha stayed open, Chimwa, which has changed its name, but there was a few places that still stayed open.
For locals?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And do the locals end up like, people living there end up just
That
enjoying?
island, it's for party people in the respect of the party never stops.
Yeah.
You know, it's the one place where summer or winter you can always party in Ibiza.
And is there any of that? So, you know, I don't like bringing up things like this, but I'm just interested to know, like, because there's little bits of animosity here on the island about, you know, this whole tourists go home stuff, and I don't want to get into the political side of it, but is there that feeling with some people that they've had enough of the Ibiza thing, or most people see it as that's what makes money for this island?
I think on both sides. I mean, there's of course there is a part of that where they do want tourists to go home, you know, but there's the reality, and the reality is that the tourists bring in a lot of money,
and they go home after 6 months.
And well, some of them do, some do, some don't. So yeah, I'll say on both sides there is a little bit of that in Ibiza. Of course there is, but I think people realise and respect that this island is thriving because of what it is.
Yeah,
you know, it's a party island.
Yeah,
it's Ibiza.
So,
it's been Ibiza for a long time.
So the thing that's always intrigued me about, like, because, you know, I've thought, oh, well, you know, I wonder what it would be like to have a business there. I wonder what it would be like to have that. So for businesses, obviously, it's shut down. So here, when I rent something here and I pay the year, I pay month after month after month. Is it that those 6 months is so thriving that for the rest of the year they can shut down? Yes. And so a lot of people who have businesses then, say that's their only place to have a business.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year, then they just kind of, it's a holiday. So it's like almost like being a better than a school teacher. It's like, you know, like, because a school teacher gets 3 months.
Yeah.
You're getting 6 months on, 6 months off. Is it a case where you find yourself, maybe not yourself, but because you sound like a guy that doesn't sit still, but for someone who's like, you know, because I have noticed that Canadian people, they like their holidays, which is cool. Like they love
a good holiday.
Like, and is it the same in Ibiza where like, let's work hard for 6 months and kick back for the next 6 months?
Daniel, myself included, on my first couple of years I did this. I worked extremely hard for 6 months, and then I spent the other 6 months either traveling or come to Tenerife or whatever it was. The money you can make in Ibiza in the summer is incredible.
Yeah.
It really is incredible. Of course, I got to a certain stage as I started to grow up that I just wanted to be busy. I wanted to make money. I wanted to start up new businesses and so on. So I become very proactive. But yes, you can literally just go there, work 6 months a year and have 6 months off if you really want, because you will make that much money.
I'm fairly sure you're not that guy anymore from talking to you. So for me, right, I like, for a lot of my life, I've had businesses here, and I had a DJ company in Ireland, and I worked as an architect, and I've done different jobs, and I've experienced different things, and I've come to a kind of point in my life in the last 5 years where I'm about not working for anyone. I'm about creating businesses. I'm about, you know, with Colin and different people, like getting involved in ideas and growing concepts, and for me, I don't feel like I'm working anymore. Like, I feel like it's like something that I really enjoy, and I understand sometimes it does. Like when you talked about, you know, when you felt like you have to, you know, Johnny jump up, you know, you have to literally, you know, let's go. But from what we've only met recently, and you know, I can tell you're the type of guy that, my feeling with what I've seen from you is you're a guy that gets excitement from ideas.
Yes.
And so I guess what gets you up in the morning? If I was to ask you now what gets you up in the morning and what keeps you going and what excites you in life at the moment, I'd love to hear it, obviously.
Okay. I'm going to backtrack a little bit, because I explained how intense my job can be. But at the same time, what gets me up in every morning and excites me is fulfilling a new project, right? Coming up with the idea, and then developing that into what it is. And when I was doing the concierge in Ibiza, the tough times that I was facing was because I was a bit of a one-man band. So I was trying to do everything myself.
Yeah.
You know? And then obviously that developed over time when you develop yourself and you realize that actually the more you delegate, the more things that can get done, the more things get done in a better quality. So you learn this along the way.
Yeah.
But when you're hustling and bustling and trying to make a pound note and you're on the island and you want to live somewhere, you're doing everything. So as much as it was stressful and I had anxiety and all the rest of it that went with it, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved fulfilling people's dreams. I loved making dreams realities. I loved putting together events. I loved, you know, the final products of seeing something that you just created, this big villa event for Belvedere Vodka and, you know, acrobats, dancers, DJs, lights, you know, all of this that was just a conversation, which is now, or a thought, which is now in full swing and you're just watching it like a spectator. That's what I love. I like working with people. Yeah. I like doing things for people, working with people. I like visualizing projects and turning them into a reality. And I think as time's gone on and the older I've become, the more you surround yourself with the right people, which then makes these things a lot easier to develop.
Yeah. I think to pick up one of the things you just said there, which I think is one of the biggest lessons I learned it more so. I knew it, but I didn't really apply it in my life. Was delegation. Like, it's because, you know, for me, it's very easy to be afraid of, like, if I let go of this or I let go of that, but like everything in life, you need to be able to let go of something so you can take on something else. And one of the things that I've really kind of, when I look at businesses now, when I look at a business idea, I think to myself, first question is, well, obviously, will it make me money?
Yeah.
The other question is, does it excite me? And the other question is, can I get out after 6 months? And I don't mean sell the business. I don't mean...
No, I understand.
I mean, build it to a point, be in the middle of it, and then step back and go, right, you're the manager.
Yeah.
You manage it. If you need help, I'm here to help you, and like that. And that for me, even to the point where my first biggest step with Tenerife First Excursions was I used to do everything. I used to do the accounts, I used to Excel sheets, I checked the sales sheets, I checked everything, and it consumed so much of my day. And then I was like, you know, I'm going to hire someone part-time to do that stuff. And the minute that happened, I have time, I need to think of something else. And then it's grown that way. And I've realized that that's the way to grow in business, is to really be able to go, right, someone else can do this job. I need to train them. Okay, so I lose X amount every month if I take someone else. Mm-hmm. But what I gain in time, is valuable. And I heard a great entrepreneur say, if someone else can do your job, or it's a job that you dislike and you don't want to do, and it's worth a lot less than your hourly rate, don't do it. For example, at this point when I grow my businesses, should I, and this sounds awful what I'm about to say, it might sound, no, but it makes sense. It's like, I hate cleaning my house. Do I pay a cleaner? Yes, I'm going to pay a cleaner. Because my hourly rate at the moment is way higher than an hourly rate that will cost me to pay a cleaner. And I think, well, I'll get someone else to do it. And then I have more time to do either things that I want to do or the business. And it's really understanding that throughout different parts of my life that actually I shouldn't do this. I should have focused on this other energy in my life and figuring out where to place my energy in my day. Because like when I gave up drinking drugs first, right, I literally thought, fuck, what am I going to do for the rest of, like, how am I going to fill 24 hours? Like, all I was thinking about was how I was going to get through the day so I wouldn't pick up a drink. Well, now it's like, I wish there was another 10 hours in a day. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
My advice to anyone is stop partying, start delegating.
Yeah.
You know, not really. Because, I mean, I've tried to do both together.
Yeah.
And, you know, I did quite well with it. I'm not going to lie. But the moment when I say stop partying, will I have a glass of wine on the odd occasion? Yeah, sometimes. Will I go to a club and have a dance? Sometimes. But your priority in life needs to be, how do you want your future to look? And if you want your future to be a certain way, you have to make sacrifices. For me now, being my grown-up self at 36 years old, I now look at, if you want to have a party, that's because you're celebrating. Now look at your life. What are you celebrating?
Yeah.
Have you got a good reason to be in a party celebrating? That's where I'm at now. If you spoke to me 13 years ago, I'll be like, every day was a celebration day.
It's a party.
Every day was a party day. Especially living in Ibiza, of course. But as you grow and your mind grows, you start to see life in a different way. Well, not everyone, but if you get the chance to, and then you start to structure it in different ways. And I think this is all part of the journey of life. And if you can stop the partying, it gives you a clear vision to see that.
Yeah, and I think, like, I'm not, if people look at me, they might think I'm a materialistic person and everything. I
think we all are to a degree.
Yeah, I grew up with nothing, right? Like, not nothing, but my parents hadn't a lot of money. When I came into recovery first, I had nothing. I was a mess. And for a lot of my life, I've always had to count my money. You know, have I got enough to buy those trainers, or have I got enough to and one of the things I like now in my life is I build these businesses that I have financial freedom. I'm able to go in and, like, not spend huge amounts of money, but be able to go in, I like them trainers, and buy them, and not be like counting my pennies and stuff like that. And I guess that could go tomorrow, but one of the things I love about, I'm passionate about building these businesses, I'm passionate about doing things, but it also the things have given me this financial freedom, which I would never imagined, and it's like, and I feel very blessed to have that, and that's one of the reasons why I keep going. And like, I want to travel, I want to be able to do it without worrying about money and worrying about this and worrying about that, and it's just a nice place to be in. But it takes focus, and it takes sacrifices at times.
Of course it does.
Not finishing until, getting up early in the morning, doing your training early in the morning, or doing what you need to do so you free up your day to be there and commit to work, to whatever it is that you're doing. Because and it's not really work in the end, because you become passionate about it.
Of course. I don't think there's anything wrong with being materialistic in the respect of, like, you buying yourself a nice car. I don't know about you, but I like to get up in the morning, get to the gym.
Yeah.
Getting in my nice car to get me to the gym motivates me to go and work harder.
Yeah.
It's like all of these things that you add in your life that make you feel good, that are materialistic, I think is actually what pushes you to try and get to the next level.
Yeah.
So I think enjoy your materialistic things. If you are a little bit materialistic, no problem. As long as you're humble with it, then,
I think that's an important thing, is not to be, like, egotistical about it, like, and it's easy to get caught. I can get caught up in that, like, oh yeah, look at this and that. But in the end of the day, it means nothing if you're not a good person, you're not a decent person, you're not kind to people around you, like, and
of course.
And you don't forget, like, that you are blessed to have these things in your life. Like, and I think for anyone watching this, I do believe that it's achievable for anyone.
Of
I
course
think
it is.
that if you really want stuff in your life, you can attract it to your life and do the next right thing.
100%.
And I try and do it in the most honest and decent way.
Yeah.
And I guess I try and raise people around me as much as I can to aspire to similar levels. The thing I was going to say to you is, because I'm just looking at the time, hour and a half wise, I wanted to kind of wrap it up on this. Two things. First thing, like, someone who would aspire to maybe do what you're doing,
Yes,
like getting involved and being a not concierge. I think concierge is kind of the wrong name for what you do.
I mean, there's many
A
words.
man of the people.
There's many words.
What way would you prefer it to be described, and how could someone start up being that? And then secondly, where can people find you on social media? Where can they find your company? And that's what I would we'll wrap it up on.
I'm an organizer. I organize things. I maximize people's experiences. I simplify them, but I maximize them. So basically, just to go onto the social media, it's 24/7 lifestyle on Instagram, and it's 24/7 Ibiza on the website. If you ever want to do something that I've done, my biggest advice I can give is just do it.
Yeah.
Don't think too much. When you think too much, you fear. Fear stops you from moving. It's like you need to just do. So when I went to Ibiza, without going too much into another story, I never actually had a plan. Now, I know you mentioned about always have a plan.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about throwing yourself in a situation and then you need to act.
Learning to swim.
You have to, sometimes throw them in and then quickly learn how to swim. I went through that way. I got thrown into it.
But you had an exit plan, and you also had income from elsewhere, which probably would have...
It did help. Of course it did. Don't get me wrong. But I also had a personality that knew that I had to make it work, and I would network my way to where I needed to get to.
I only met you a couple of weeks ago, and I know that that's the fact. Like, I know from meeting you that you ain't afraid of stepping in and giving it a try. You're not afraid of talking to someone. You're not afraid of coming in through the doors here and talking to us. And, you know, similar to me, I'm not afraid of conversation. I'm not afraid of sale, and I'm certainly not afraid of rejection.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes the biggest fear that people hold, is being afraid to be rejected, being afraid to be not, you know, it not working out or feeling like a failure. Well, guess what? Failures give you growth, and 100%. You've got to give them a try. Now, I said two questions. I got one more because I was thinking about an audio message that you sent me about a midget and a thing. But I'm not going to ask this. But maybe it is the weirdest request, and maybe you can't say it, and you don't have to say who asked it. What is and we'll finish on this. What is the weirdest request, if you can say it, that you've received from a client that they've wanted at a party?
Okay.
If you can't say it, don't say it. But
okay, no, what I can say is it involved a top hat, gluing a plate to the top of it and placing it on a midget's head to walk around the villa party to have easy access to a table.
There you go.
That was used for many things in the party.
So basically, if you want that at your party, give Jonny a call. Bro, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Daniel.
Really appreciate it. My hands are a bit sweaty. I'm roasting.
All good.
Thank you very much, man.
Cheers.
And we hope to get you on again. Thank you very much. Cheers, brother.
Cheers,
Nice one.
buddy. Thank you.